Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're putting on the hat of an investigative historian to unravel the incredibly complex and, frankly, contradictory life of Murad I. We're looking at the strategic architect of the early Ottoman Empire. This is a man whose reign fundamentally shifted the balance of power in the 14th century and whose life ended in a legendary battlefield mystery that historians are literally still debating today. To do this, we're breaking things down into 4 parts. First, architect of an empire. Second, the dual-faced sultan. Third, blood and succession. And finally, we'll tackle the Kosovo enigma.
All right, part 1, architect of an empire, strategic expansion and division.
Murad hits the ground running in 1362 with this relentless forward momentum. By the 1360s, he captures the strategic hub of Adrianople. In 1371, his forces absolutely crush a major Serb expedition, and that's followed by the fall of the vital Bulgarian city of Sofia in 1385. He was aggressively shifting the empire's center of gravity completely out of Asia Minor, pushing deep into southern Europe, right up to the fateful Battle of Kosovo in 1389.
But here's the thing about Murad. He didn't just conquer, he organized. He systematically divided his massive domain into distinct administrative provinces. He took Adrianople and boldly made it his new capital. Then he formalized his governance by splitting his realm into Anatolia, which was the older territory in Asia Minor, and Rumelia, the newly organized Balkan province. This administrative split was a massive tactical shift, and it anchored Ottoman power in Europe for centuries to come.
And his approach to diplomacy? Totally pragmatic. He didn't just rely on military might to manage conquered Christian leaders. He used strategic marriages. In 1376, he marries the Bulgarian princess Kura Tamara Hatun right after subjecting Bulgaria to tribute. Later on, he marries Maria Hatun, a Byzantine princess. Make no mistake, these were not romantic unions. These were calculated, geopolitical anchors designed to exact tribute, neutralize threats, and cement key alliances.
Moving on to part 2, the dual-faced sultan, a character in contrast. So what kind of man actually wields this much power? Well, he was known by the nickname Hudavendigar. It's derived from Persian, and it means the devotee of God, which in the Ottoman context translates essentially to sovereign. It projects this grand image of a holy, divinely guided leader, but when you really dig into the sources, they reveal a man who is deeply, deeply contradictory.
The historical accounts are completely split. Ottoman records describe a charitable, just ruler, a true holy warrior. But the Byzantine accounts, they paint a slightly different picture. They acknowledge him as a man of few but eloquent words, and even note he was surprisingly merciful to Christians. But they add a chilling caveat. He was absolutely intolerant of mistakes and could resort to extreme harshness.
Which brings us to part 3, blood and succession, the price of stability.
Remember that zero-tolerance policy for mistakes we just talked about? Well, the public persona of a merciful diplomat masked a ruthless private reality, especially when it came to maintaining absolute control over the empire's internal stability. For Murad, the survival of the state came before everything. Absolutely everything. The history of his family is incredibly dark. When his own son, Savji Bey, actually dared to rebel against him, Murad's response was absolute. He had him executed. It is a staggering reality. His other son, Yaqub Çelebi, was later strangled just to secure the line of succession. This brutal calculus left Bayezid I as the sole surviving son who would ultimately claim the throne. Think about that math for a second. Out of at least 5 sons fathered by Murad I, the brutal mechanics of royal succession ensured only one would walk away with the throne. The stakes of leadership in the 14th century Ottoman world were quite literally life and death. And unfortunately, this set a very bloody precedent for future generations of the dynasty. And that trail of blood leads us right into our final section, the Kosovo enigma, the assassination of a sultan. The year is 1389. The forces of Murad I meet the Serbian army, commanded by Prince Lazar, on the Kosovo field. It's one of the most pivotal, legendary clashes in European history. But what makes this battle so fascinating isn't just the fighting itself. It's the fact that neither commander, Murad nor Lazar, would survive the day. History, however, fractures violently regarding exactly how the Sultan died. Because historical narratives are heavily constructed by those who survive, we are left with 2 completely conflicting accounts of the assassination.
Western sources claim this dramatic mid-battle assassination where a Serbian knight named Miloš Obilić pretended to defect, managed to get close to the Sultan, and stabbed him. But Ottoman sources tell a entirely different story. They report that Murad was assassinated in a cowardly ambush while he was peacefully inspecting the battlefield after the fighting had already finished.
To give you an idea of the contemporary drama going on here, consider a Florentine Senate letter written just months after the battle. It describes a party of 12 Serbian lords slashing their way through the Ottoman lines, killing the Sultan with sword stabs to the throat and belly. This vivid, almost forensic-style account injects massive intrigue into the whodunit of the Sultan's death, and it contrasts so sharply with the Ottoman claims of a post-battle sneak attack. Now, the immediate aftermath is honestly just as chaotic as the battle itself. First, Murad is assassinated in his command tent. Second, his son Bayezid instantly takes charge of the forces. Third, Bayezid summons his brother Yaqub to the tent, who is totally oblivious to his father's death, by the way, and has him strangled. Finally, Bayezid emerges as the sole, uncontested Ottoman Sultan. In the literal shadow of his father's murder, Bayezid secured his reign using the exact same ruthless calculus his father had taught him. And in death, Murad remained as divided as his empire. His internal organs were buried right there on the Kosovo field, a site known today as Mesht I Hudvendigar, while the rest of his body was carried all the way back to Anatolia to be buried in his capital city of Bursa. It physically anchors his legacy in both the Balkans and Asia Minor. So what are we supposed to make of all this? How does a single ruler leave behind a legacy as a merciful diplomat who married Christian princesses, a father who executed his own sons for the stability of the state, a holy devotee, and a battlefield martyr all at the very same time? Murad I really challenges us to understand how one single historical figure can embody such fierce, striking contradictions. It's a legacy that historians are still attempting to unravel today, and hopefully this explainer has given you the tools to start unraveling it for yourself.